2 more games because back-to-back games nights, and yesterday I felt awful, but I'm covering it now, and I watched the Ducks game because I felt better today, and that's great. I love feeling better, and obviously Vegas does too, because after an absolutely horrid, abysmal, abhorrent, tragic game on Saturday against the Utah no-name hockey club team. I mean, their name is technically hockey club, so they have a name. It's just that's terrible, and they're not sticking with it. Know that, but hey, we're not talking about them. We're talking about the emphasis on the L-ers. Yeah.
I hate you.
Where Vegas wins 1-0 in a penalty-free game. There's a stat, I need to pull up the stat. The last time a NHL game ended with 0 penalty minutes and 1 goal or fewer was 1944. That's pre-moon landing. The World War II wasn't even over yet. Like, that's how far back you have to go to find a game that meets last night's defensive spectacular game. And the thing is back in 1944, when that game happened, defense was far from spectacular that we're used to now. It was run and gun, and games ended like 10-0. And 2 of the 4 games on that list that have ended that way were 1-0 forfeits because the Wanderers, their arena burnt to the ground back in 1918, you know. Yeah. Listen, is it suspect that a game that has Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel, for them, I'm gonna put respect on Jack Eichel's name because that dude is so fantastic. He shut down Connor McDavid, and there were technically things that were on the ice that could have been called penalties if it was a different set of refs, or if it was, you know, a preseason game, I guess. But refs didn't call anything. I thought it was fair on both sides. I watched that game, and it wasn't necessarily boring, although casual fans and Oiler fans, for that matter, would probably find it boring simply because, you know, it's not what they're used to. They're used to getting not necessarily a ton of power plays, but getting some and being able to do stuff on it, because it's not like their team has had 6 first-round picks, first overall picks in the last decade and a half. One of them, the one that ended the streak, being Connor McJesus, right, guys? Like, that's his nick. And Jack Eichel shut him down. Bruce Cassidy with the line matching paired him on him like 2 June bugs on a hot summer night, right? What's his name? The guy that was Doc Hudson's crew chief. Smokey. Cars 3 fans. Anyone? No, just me and my son. Oh, whatever. Thing is, too, about this defensive stalwart of a game on both sides, the first 2 periods were extremely even. The 3rd period is when the Oilers outshot and outchanced Vegas the entire period. Like, Vegas had 16 shots at about like 16 minutes left to go in the game, and it stayed that way the rest of the game, but Edmonton jumped from 14 to 28. And it wasn't because Vegas was just letting them run all over us, even though it kind of looks like that on the stat sheet. It's because all game, all night, we had them pushed to the outsides, and they were only getting those chances. Rebounds were swept away, and the rebound that did get chances for Edmonton was stopped by Aiden Mountain, Aiden Himalaya, Aiden Brick Wall, whatever you want to call him. It was that guy and the defense in front of him. Spectacular game. And it was not the run and gun style that definitely would favor Edmonton, even though in the first 2 periods there was a little bit of that, which is why Vegas wasn't wanting to play it. When you're playing against the top, like the one of the fastest and the undisputed best player in hockey right now. I'm not too prideful to admit that Connor McDavid's the best, but like, seriously, the amount of disrespect that's thrown Jack Eichel's way because of that, and that shadow and the Buffalo, like, oh, we wanted that guy, and so the mistreatment that Eichel got the entire, no, like, we need to do better about that. Eichel would have been a first overall pick in most years surrounding that draft, and the fact that he wasn't is simply because it was Connor McDavid. Jack Eichel is just, he shut him down. And yes, people are going to point to the empty net opportunity that Jack Eichel had when he was completely gassed after being out there on a 6-on-5 with Edmonton with the empty net, when McDavid stick lift him as he was trudging full speed the other way to stick, like, That's not Connor McDavid versus Eichel. You want to see Connor McDavid versus Eichel? You go through the first 2 periods where McDavid had 0 shots because Jack Eichel was a fantastic. It's the whole like two-way skater thing, I think often means that they don't produce offensively as much. I think of William Karlsson when I think of two-way skaters. But 200-foot players, especially for forwards, because those are the people that are most identified as that, are the people that can also do amazing things with the puck on the offensive end, and Jack Eichel is one of those players, and I know I'm just ranting right now and actually talking about the game, but there's not much to talk about with this game, so I'm just gonna leave that entire rant there and talk about the one goal that did happen. Ivan Barbashev, team leading 13th, he was neck and neck with Pal Dorothy the entire season, finally just nudged past him for a little bit. We'll see how long that lasts, but yeah, no, Barbashev has a 2-on-1 with Jack Eichel. He tries for a pass when it's Evan Bouchard. Fancy that guy's the one going back. Who lays down on the ice. He blocks the pass, but the pass pumps right back out to Barbashev, and he's like, okay, so I'll just shovel it on goal. And Stu Skinner's in net, so of course that went in. Stu Skinner is like almost a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where he had a fantastic second half of the playoffs last year, but like abhorrent leading up to that. And you oh man, you put your chips all in on him and it's not having a great early return on investment there. But yeah, no, that goal was terrible that he allowed. Arguably shouldn't have gone in. It snuck past 5-hole. It was like a muffin and it went in. And Barbashev was like, great, cool, I guess. And that's literally all that happened. Vegas, again, defensively shut down fantastic. Aiden Hill's best game of the season. He, in his last 7, is 5-1-1, a .935 save percentage, has 10 goals saved above expected, and 2 shutouts. All that off the top of my noggin because I read this amazing tweet from Jesse Granger that had it laid out, but it's memorized in my brain, and the last time I read it was like 5 hours ago. Guys, something's wrong with me. But still, just defensive masterclass of a game, and that is exactly what I was thinking going into the next game. Second half of a back-to-back, and so we go from Vegas at home back to Anaheim in California, and back to back. And this game had a little bit more offense than last game, but it did not start out that way because it looked eerily similar. There was more shots in this game, but yeah, Vegas and Anaheim both in the first period just didn't do a ton, but it was still Vegas getting on the board in the first with 1 goal from Duck Hunter William Karlsson. And I've been calling him this for years because against the team that drafted him, because we took him in the expansion draft from Columbus, who'd taken him from Anaheim in a trade. He's originally from Anaheim. He was drafted by them. He just scores. He's fantastic against them. He did not get a point, I don't think, against the Ducks earlier in the season. So tonight was the return of Duck Hunter Bars William Karlsson. That's his first goal as a dad of 2, so congrats to him. That's awesome. He scored because of a fantastic play from Victor Olofsson, who's back in the lineup, and I think he replaced Cal Burke. Haig with the wrist shot on net after Olofsson passed it to him, so that's where the Olofsson part comes from. But it gets blocked or tipped in front, and it falls down to the ground from, I think, Anaheim's player. And the puck just lands perfectly over to the side of the goalie for William Karlsson to bury it. You know, he was elected to Team Sweden earlier today for the Four Nations face-off. Fantastic stuff from him. And he buries a goal against the drafted team that drafted him. That makes sense, right? 1-0 Vegas going into the first intermission. And I missed this next part, but Trevor Zegras got into a little lock thing, back skating. It seemed completely incidental to me, accidental. And he was injured and out for the rest of the game. It didn't look great. Zegras is my favorite Duck, him and Dostal. But yeah, no, hopefully he recovers and everything's good, and that he will be able to continue to do amazing magician, it's tricky, X Factor stuff later, and can figure it out with Anaheim, to be honest. I would love this player on my team because of his personality. He just seems to be a really fun kid, and I hope that he's healthy. Hard, because there's no other way to transition out of that hard transition into the game again. And it's another former Anaheim Duck, which thank you again for giving us this guy in the expansion draft. But Shea Theoscore, Eichel and Olofsson again on a 2-on-1, and Eichel with the pass over to Olofsson. He shoots it, but Gibson makes a save. The puck bounces out really far over to Shea Theodore, who's entering the zone as the trailer, who helped this puck transition in the breakout to get out of the defensive zone like 5 seconds earlier. And he buries it! And it's 2-0. Both from former Ducks, and both just like streak breaking, I think. I can't remember the last William Karlsson goal, and the last Shea Theodore's goal was like 24 games ago. But it doesn't stay a 2-goal lead because Lacombe, I think, is how you pronounce it. Buries a wrist shot from the point. There was a screen in front by Mason McTavish, who's a fantastic player. I like him too, I guess. And it goes in past Samsonov, who is in net because it's a back-to-back, and we're not playing Hill in back-to-back games. It's the NHL, especially after, you know, the game he had yesterday. That's gonna take us into the second intermission. To start the third period, there is a play where Theodore gets it to Hurdle in the neutral zone, and Hurdle kind of takes the body from one of the Ducks players that's on top of him basically as he maneuvers the puck around and sends it back behind him into the offensive zone for two Golden Knights to enter on a 2-on-1. It's Holtz and Pearson. Holtz passes it over to Pearson, who waits and waits and waits, and there's a body on the ice, and he waits and he tucks it past the body on the ice, which was a Duck's body, like the player, not an actual animal duck, who laid down. He was there to try to block the 2-on-1, but didn't work. And Pearson's pass makes it over to Holtz, who has a tap in, and I like it was just a really solid play overall from everyone involved. But I really loved it for Holtz because you could see how happy he was after this goal. He was so smiley, like big. I am tired. And it was just another, what is it called when you're in like a hunch, but not a hunch? It's when you're in you haven't scored in a while, you're in a rut-breaking. What is the other word? When you finally get the monkey off your back. And that's 3 players that have been able to do that tonight, with Karlsson, Theodore, who was also named to Team Canada along with Petro. And that's fun. So is Aiden Hill. Congrats to him. Kind of the obvious starting choice, in my opinion, for Team Canada. But I am biased. And then, yeah, Alex Holtz, who that's his second of the season. Just great. And then we get to the end of the game where Anaheim pulls the goalie and Shea Theodore gets his second of the game against his former team. Just a great game for the 3 goal scorers tonight with the 4 goals that were able to... I almost got it to just roll off my tongue, and then I thought about it and it made me forget what I was trying to do. Break the rut, breaking the habit, Lincoln Park. Being able to score after not scoring for a while. Back-to-back games, back-to-back wins. Anaheim and Edmonton, really solid hockey from Vegas against a team that we should be able to beat in Anaheim, and a team that we're competing with in Edmonton. Just really solid hockey, especially since we're still missing Stone, which it makes our team worse, even though we're 6-5-2 or 7. I don't know what our exact record is. They said it on the broadcast, but like it's been decent, but not great without him. And we could definitely use him to not avoid disasters like a 6-0 loss to Utah at home. And Dallas is getting a little taste of it, I guess, with not like, I'm not wishing that this, because Tyler Seguin is injured and out for 4.5 to 6 months or whatever with a specific injury that they labeled. And even though Stone was labeled with a lacerated spleen, like it wasn't enough, I guess. And lower back doesn't count as an accurate enough injury. And obviously with Vegas, they're faking it, but with Seguin, they're not, because he had surgery, even though Stone had surgery. And the NHL hires third-party investigators into anything that involves LTIR usage, which means that that should be taken care of, especially when there happens 2 seasons in a row, because it didn't happen 3, because he came back in the regular season 3 seasons ago. Guys, get your facts straight, because you won't, because it's not actual facts that you think that you're spitting, even though it gets a lot of likes. How long have I been holding that in? But it's interesting to see how they're like, oh, we're just copying Vegas, even though we copied Tampa, who copied Chicago. Like, it's not the Vegas rule. It's the Chicago rule, I guess, if you want to go to that far back, 2015, but...
This tweet from Heather specifically got to me because, yeah, no, I'd rather have Stone more than anyone else that really can't do anything at all close to what he can do. But yeah, like, same. Yeah, same, right?
Anyway, the whole point is that games 26 and 27 were fantastic. One, an example of defensive stalwartism. And another, good example of being able to just score from other parts of our lineup that aren't Eichel and Barbashev and Dorofeev, which I guess counts in that group now. Good! Eichel had 2 assists in this game. One was on the empty netter, but still. Yeah, good. Great. I'm happy to be here. I hope you're happy to be here. Thank you so much for watching. That was games 26 and 27's nightly review. Have a wand, oh geez. Our next game is Friday against Dallas. Hey, funny, it was relevant for me bringing up Tyler Seguin in this rant on this video. But that's gonna be it for today's nightly review. Thank you so much for watching and have a good night.